over. I've put the blocks that I've already made out on the floor, and I've realised I don't need 36. I don't need anything like that. I'm probably going to have another 6 so that it'll be 12 blocks. Don't know where I got 36 from. I think if I had thought about this differently at the outset, I might have used smaller blocks given the scale of the quilt, but I'm not going to worry about that. I've managed to get the frame up with the extension poles, which makes it very high, but then the room is high. It's got a very high ceiling, and it does provide a backdrop to filming that doesn't show these two lights, although I do like them. They're normally showing as a halo over my head, and that would be misrepresentation, most definitely. Sort of works. You get the idea. It does mean that I don't know what I use yet, but I can tie something up here that that I can put my quilt pieces onto. I can already see on the blocks I've made that there's a plain dark piece that I'm going to probably have to remove. So I'm going to make a few more blocks, go up to 12, and then I'll go to put them on here so that I can see how they look. The next step for me is to get my quilting blocks off the floor and onto somewhere where I can look at them and step back from them and make sure that I haven't got any bits that don't look right. So it's a lovely sunny day today, 24 degrees. So I'll take you outside and show you what's on the washing line. Then I'm going to move on to the next stage, which is the broderie anglaise fabric that you saw me collect off the washing line. I have actually bought this to make a dress, a baby dress, but I don't need it all, so I'm going to be sneaking a bit off that. I'll show you a close-up of it. This is probably one of my very, very favourite types of fabric. The kind of broderie anglaise that is all cotton and has no shiny parts on it. You can get slightly less expensive broderie anglaise that is cotton with some of the embroidery on it is made with a shiny thread, and I really can't stand that stuff. But this kind with all cotton I just think is so beautiful. So this, together with some of my other white bits, which admittedly, although they're all new fabrics, they do look quite dingy next to it. So that is a linen look cotton. Not sure about that. I've done this before with block quilts, and I've had questions about it as to how do you manage it if all your blocks aren't the same size, or what is the size of all of your blocks. So you saw me using my 9.5 inch quilted square as a guide, and it is only a guide. Some of these are bigger than others. So the next stage I would do now would be to pick a size, and it will be somewhere near the biggest one. But for instance, that one I think is a bit oversized. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a bit broad. That's a bit broad. So I might trim that down a bit, but it'll be somewhere near the biggest size of the biggest one. And whatever that measurement is, I will add sashing to all of them, including that biggest one, and make them all up to the same size, or more or less. And what that gives me is the blocks, but the slightly offset look that I like. I also like the fact that the main block that's in each one, the pink or the really blue, is offset within the block. Quite like that too. And then because they're slightly different sizes, it'll have that slightly offset look. So that's my next step for this quilt, after I've rearranged them. So I'm going to take the step back, which I didn't take last time. And so the things that are standing out for me are those two dark pinks, which need to be at least separated. And I need to make sure that there's too much yellow next to each other. So I'll just rearrange those a bit. Taking my design wall down, that's what I'm calling it, because it was actually getting on my wick. and I've put my quilts back. So, but full disclosure, quilting friends, all those bits, after all I said about not keeping bits and being disciplined, all of those tatty bits that you saw me dealing with to make these blocks, along with the rejected whites, they're all in this box because I don't want to think about it yet. So what we've got here is the brushed cotton white and the broderie anglaise and 2 potential fabrics for the border, the binding. I think that one is the biggest, and that's after I've trimmed down the too wide bit here and too dominant. So it's just about ½ an inch bigger than my 9.5 inch square, so it's 10 inches. If I add an inch of broderie anglaise around this one, it'll be 11 inches square. So I'll do that, and that's the size I'll work to. So I'll start off with cutting some of this. If I make this 1.5 inches, because I want it to be 1 inch added around, and cut it 1.5 inches. For that one. So I'll make this square first and then I'll measure the other ones to it. Sashing here, and that is half broderie anglaise and half brushed cotton, cut to widths up to 2 inches. And then I've got my blocks here, and I've also got on my phone that I took off the design wall so that I can see the sequence of the blocks, and what I don't want is all brushed cotton at one end and old broderie anglaise at the other, so I'm alternating them. So I'm seeing what's next. dress. I'd like to start by saying that because the first part of this quilt project, the first video, has been well received with lots of comments and new subscribers. I just wanted to say, if you're coming back as a subscriber or you've recently subscribed, thank you very much. It's very encouraging, and I'd also like to thank you for the comments as well. So it turned out that I had a bit more free time this weekend than I thought I was going to have, partly because it's too hot to play golf. Too hot and humid, so that's been postponed. So I've got on with the quilt, and so I think there'll be one more video after this, which will be binding and finishing it, but in this video I'll finish the top. So I hope you enjoy watching. So the next stage is for me to, based on the photograph that I took of the design wall when I decided where everything was going, is to start with each row. So this is the top row as you looked at it, and so as you can see, they've all got very slightly different widths of white around them. So what I would do now is line these up so that this top line of the blocks is a straight line. So I need to take off some of these little extra bits that I've left on and line these up so that it's a straight line. That's lined up. That's lined up. And then I will pin these together in the right order so that I can sew them. So, well, before I do that, I'll just show you. You'll see that the bottom line is not straight as such. They're not all lined up, and that's because they are very slightly different sizes. But in making the sashing around the side, the white sashing around the side, a little bit bigger than I need, I'm allowing for that to be trimmed down. So what I will do now is I'll pin these so that I can sew them together. So there's the first row, and don't worry at the moment about the fact that that's uneven. So then line up the next row like this and do exactly the same thing. So I've now got the second row sewn together. So the only thing for me to do now is to trim, and the lines on my ironing board are going to help. I'm going to trim this down to be straight. If you get something like this happen, this is on the next row, where if you were, these are all now ready pinned to be ready to be sewn. If you now lined that up with the top of that, you'd be in a situation where your colour is going to be beyond the end of the border anglaise of that one. So in that situation, just slide it up so that you're going to be trimming a bit off the top and the bottom. Another thing to mention is to watch the overall width of your work. So as well as adjusting the height a little bit, make sure that your side seams are going to match up. And you can, if there will be a little bit of difference in the size of the blocks going this way as well, but you can just adjust the width of the side pieces of sashing as well to take that up. I'm doing it by pinning to the edge and then pinning to the edge and adjusting accordingly. Sometimes you'll just be fine and you won't need to do any, but sometimes you might need to add 1/2 inch or take off 1/4 inch to make sure that you've got pieces of equal length.